In this video, I wanted to talk about the Snugglefest release. They're not going to do a quest this year because they fit in the stat revamp. Um, and that's what this is all about. The verbiage that's here is going to be updated, and I'll cover the stat revamp stat by stat um, later once we know all the bugs have been worked out, all the kinks have been ironed out. So for now, I'll talk about just the new items here, and all they did was update the shop, but basically you have to do this quest, which is a little bit of a nuisance, but basically you have to fight monsters and all of these underneath all these characters here, and then once you're done you get access to the shop. If you have the painting for Snugglefest, it takes you to the same place. So again, there's not a new quest this year. If you wanted to come over here to the, let's see here, think there's a link for past quests here. Um, Again, there's not going to be one this year. This one is from last year. All right, there are several good items in Snugglefest. There are other people that like to put together lists and spreadsheets and videos and stuff. You can reference those videos for those recommendations. Um, Now, I want to talk about the items in particular. I'm going to show you the melee and the magic weapon, and then the misc. I'm not going to show you the ranged weapon. The ranged weapon works similarly to the magic weapon. I think it's basically the same power. But let's go ahead and start with the magic weapon. So the way this is going to work, so let's go ahead and do this here. So this works very, very well with Lucky Beast Mage that is running like Creature 72 or Phase and other resource heal combos like Mosquitoes, or if you have Plush Mort, whatever, right? Um, but it's basically just like the heroic um, fire weapon that was released from the donation contest. If you remember that weapon, that this is the shield partner shield. When you cast a fire spell, it charges 392 SP to inflict a prismatic burn. In this case, it's going to charge 392 SP to uh, inflict bleeding, and it's per hit capped to 4 hits, just like the prismatic burn was for the heroic Titan weapon. Uh, so you're gonna have to spend a lot of SP plus your normal cost for your light spell. So this is going to work versus light spells. The spell that I've chosen to use is Ornament Golem Assault from one of the Frostveil. I prefer to incorporate defensive tactics in with my resource heals and DOT playstyles. So that way, like for example, this is a light monster. If I'm choking or panicking or Ellie shielding and stuff like that, I don't have to use a armor that's good against light because I'm reducing monster offense. And that's basically where I'm coming from with this weapon, with this spell and this combo. I really like to uh, utilize that just because I like to mix the offense and defense. I don't like to go really all out with either one. And so um, the other thing too is I think this is a 5-hit spell, and so it's capped at 4 hits. So that's another reason why I like to use it. So what I'm going to do here is going to use Primecast Orb to see if I can move light to a little bit better element. That's fine. And then, all right, so what I'm going to do here actually is I'm going to cast a spell. Um, Now keep in mind the ranged weapon has a toggle just like the magic weapon here, where it works when you just attack. So Just a normal attack will do it with the ranged weapon, so that's why I'm not going to really show the ranged weapon. Uh, the magic weapon works when you cast a spell, so that's the only difference. So I'm going to go ahead and cast the slight spell. So once it lands, you're going to see bleed build. So we're up to 1 power bleed. I think only 3. I think it's 0.333 power per landed hit. So one of the hits missed. So basically have a 1 power bleed. Go ahead and cast it again, and you'll see this build. So now we're up to 2.4 power bleed. So basically the ranged weapon, if you're using like on a 3 to 4 hit, basically if you're using a 4-hit armor or a 4+ hit spell, is actually the most powerful bleed infliction in the game. And so this strategy works very well because Creature 72 in phase is trying to heal both MP and SP. And so you're able to do it pretty indefinitely. And so that's why I really like this weapon as well as the one they released during the donation contest, the Heroic Titan weapon. Now I wanted to show something really quick. This, I don't know if this is intended or not, and this may change. And this is expensive to do, but let's say you get celerity, right? So I'm going to have 2 turns. So as you're going to see, it charged to 392, and I got my 4 hits. But I have another turn. It's actually going to charge another 392 and actually give me another 4 hits. So you can actually have up to 8. That may change, but as you can see, we already have 2.667 power celerity. Bleed. What's nice about the celerity is I basically healed back my SP completely. And so Soul Neko inflicts bleed based on pet and gaslight hit. So we're now up to 3 power. So that's pretty insane. Now this is actually, if you remember, Grasp Essence eats bleed. It's uncapped, so they'll probably eventually go in and cap this to 2 times the amount. But for now, this is basically going to be strong enough to kill this monster. Most likely. As you can see, the damage is crazy. Now what I'm going to show you, it won't be that crazy because I'm not going to stack multiple turns here. But just to show you how simple and easy this is. So basically, Necromancer has its own bleed. I think you can get, if everything inflicts, it'll be up to 1.8 power, roughly. And then, so you just cast your light spell once, and then your next turn, as you can see, will be around 8,000 damage, which fully heals your MP. Alright, so, going to move on to the melee weapon before I go to the misc. Alright, so let's go ahead and inflict our bleed here. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and, even though I haven't trained strength, this one actually eats bleed, and for every 100% it gives plus, I think, 58 point something strength and plus 58 point something luck, so it can do up to 117 max for each. So I'm just going to attack, and it just 8 to bleed, and I have plus 117 strength and luck, just like that. So it's basically like 10 of Brofage, where that one eats panic for plus strength and intelligence. This one, and that one is designed for hybrids. This is just a pure melee weapon. So that's the difference between the melee weapon and the uh, ranged and magic weapons. All right, so now it's time to pivot to the MISC. Now, the MISC is probably one of, if not the most overpowered MISCs ever created, and they've since reined it back slightly. If you look at the info subs, staff have basically reduced some of its power, but even though they've reduced that power, it's still um, maybe the most overpowered MISC ever. It's up there for sure. But basically, the way this works is you get a player only celerity. It costs 554 SP. And then there's a 1 turn cooldown. So you can't, it's quick cast, so you can only do it once per turn. And then after that, you have to wait a turn. So as you can see here, it basically costs 554 SP. However, if the foe is bleeding, it will start to reduce the cost. Now, the amount that it takes on the bleed is most likely bugged. So I think it's only taken off 0.12 bleed when it should be taking off 1.2 bleed. So let me go ahead and bleed the monster, and this is when all the other effects take place. But it has a shitload of triggers versus bleed, and not just baby triggers, like very strong triggers. The original info subs had the MISC give plus 22% player damage, and then it had it do it added a 0.5 times damage reducer to every single element. It was omni, not specific, because this is a non-elemental MISC, and plus 10 BTH to bleeding monsters. And then, so it has all of that trigger versus bleeding monsters on the info subs. Now, the update was they made it basically 3/4 of those boosts. I don't know if the BTH applies, but for sure the Omni defense and the damage were reduced by 0.75. That's still quite strong. I think that's around 16 or something percent damage, and not sure, maybe 0.7, maybe. I'm not for sure where the defense comes in, but it's Omni. So basically, this one MISC has made like basically a bleed meta, where you just use this MISC, you bleed the monster, you try to get some potence in there to keep the bleed. Like for example, non-beast masters could use that Scarab pet for plus 20 bleed potence. Also, they released a shield, which I won't show you. It's just a light shield with minus 20 bleed potence. It's the first shield with bleed potence in the game, and I've been waiting for that. But I don't think I have it equipped here. I don't. So so that's that. So also the bleeds on all the items are -10 to save. So they're, even though they're very strong, it's the saves are in your favor. And so Ultimately, uh, these items have created like a very strong bleed meta, in my opinion. That's like a worthy style, especially considering, like, for example, Lucky Beast Mage would be using Necromancer, which eats bleeds for MP heals. Soul Neko, which has plus 25 bleed, um, plus 25 bleed damage, and then his pets and guests stack onto bleeds. Now, this is supposed to eat bleed, but it's bugged. If you're eating pure bleed, you won't notice a damage increase. It does nothing. It basically only eats burn. Hopefully one day they'll fix that. Now, I'm going to come back to the misc. So we have a 3.167 power bleed here. But what do you notice? So basically, celerity has become free because it eats bleed to do so. Again, last I checked, it was bugged. So we're going to test it right now. Maybe it's no longer bugged, but let's see. We have 3.1 power bleed. I now have player celerity, and we're only down to 2.8, so it's still not taking enough bleed. And so basically, I have uh, 2 turns for free just because I've stacked so much bleed, which was very easy and simple to do. The magic version, on when you toggle this off, will actually heal MP. So we've gone from 643 to 779. It scales versus light, so that will change based on light. And then we'll go again. 779 is now up to 914. So that just simply scales there. I think that is versus bleeding foes. So that was, and it's also per hit. So that was 135 MP per turn there. So twice would be 270. So that's not too bad. So all in all, I think this is a fantastic wand. It's probably the best wand in the game, in my opinion. This misc here is crazy powerful. The ranged weapon, I believe, is going to be crazy strong also. And then again, the melee weapon eats bleed for strength and luck. Most warriors probably aren't running bleeds, but it is a way to it's a way to boost your damage. All in all, I think all the items are extremely strong. Um, I think running Lucky Beast Mage like this with these heal setups, um, you can turn on your prismatic burn shield and basically burn lash the monster. You can, with bleeds, all of these burns and bleeds using Soul Neko while healing back multiple resources and just letting this guy do all that kind of damage. I mean, you're looking at uh, all this damage that adds up. You have your burn damage from your pet. I guess that should set 0. I'm guessing the monster had died, so those didn't take effect. But um, all in all, it's a great way to play for non-nuking damaged focus mages, especially like a Lucky Beast mage and stuff. So that's it for the new Snugglefest items. They're all extremely powerful. The misc maybe even overpowered. But that's it for this video. Um, Hopefully upcoming, the stat revamp will be ironed out, and I'll start to be able to kind of dig in with some things um, and talk about each stat's new abilities and the style bonuses and how hybrids can take advantage of everything.